One of the firefighters raising the alarm is Chris Coy. He is now a retired captain and was the first black firefighter to be hired in Calgary back in 1996. Chris joins us tonight here on Canada Tonight. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me to be on,
Chris,
and for your interest in the story. It's an important one.
I understand it's difficult, and I understand you spent 24 years in this field. You just retired 6 weeks ago. So how does it feel to be speaking publicly about what you endured for the last more than 2 decades?
Well, first of all, I was hired in 1995, not 96, so it's 25 years. But I have to tell you that it is not an easy decision to bring this forward, but it is so important to the well-being of so many others that I had to do it. It was my duty and obligation. If I have any kind of conscience for the well-being of my fellow firefighters, I had to do this. So to those who are offended and who are disturbed by it, I can't really apologize. I have to say it's time to face the truth about what's going on in fire stations in Calgary, and not only in Calgary, it's really across the country.
At what point did you realize that this was not an individual problem with you or just your fire station, that this was a wider issue that needed to be addressed broadly?
That took several weeks of being on the floor as a new firefighter. I had no idea that I was the only black person in the department for a long time. And I really thought that it was my problem. And it was nothing beyond something they didn't like about me personally. But I soon began to be approached by individuals here and there telling me that I was not alone, because it's not only a racial issue. Anybody who is different in any way is targeted in fire departments, and they are mistreated.
When you say different, you mean not white, not male?
I mean not white, not male, but even white males who might have a different political outlook, not conservative, not particularly, shall we say, redneck. If you are a person who is sensitive, who is empathetic towards others' plight, that is not something that is smiled upon by the majority of firefighters.
Can you help people understand some of the issues that either you faced or you heard from colleagues? What types of racist abuse are we talking about? Physical, verbal?
Both. Well, I can tell you, in 1995, when I started the job, I heard the N-word every single day I went to work. Every single day. If I didn't hear that word on a given day in my first couple of years on the job, I was shocked. It was something I noted, that I did not hear that word today. Amazing.
Wow.
That has, of course, changed over the years. The racism is not as overt and blunt as it was when I started, but it's still there. People still will get up and walk out of a room when a black person walks in. In fact, a whole group of people sitting at a table will stand up and walk away. Or they'll simply not acknowledge a new black firefighter. I've been told this by a person who's been on the job less than a year, that he's faced this treatment in several of the first halls that he visited.
Wow.
People would not even acknowledge him, not recognize him as a human being.
So you've been raising these issues with your superiors for years. And what was the reaction when you complained about what you were experiencing?
At first, what I believed was genuine concern and a desire to help, which did not take me long to realize was a complete sham. It was just smoke and mirrors, check the box, let them think that we're doing something, when really what our leadership wanted, in the Calgary Fire Department at least, was to maintain the status quo at all costs. And they still want that, and that's still what they're really doing, despite the very sincere sounding thoughtful, caring messages that you will hear from people like those in the chief officer positions in the Calgary Fire Department. Those are not genuine. They are complete phony statements.
You have said that firefighters deal with trauma on the calls they go to. I know from working as a reporter, often firefighters are the first one on the scene of horrific crashes. They get there before police, paramedics, and they see a lot. But you said that some of the worst trauma that Black, Indigenous, people of color who work in the fire halls, that some of the worst trauma comes from inside the fire halls. Talk to me about that.
That was one of my colleagues who made that statement. I did not make that statement, but I 100% concur with that statement. It is absolutely true. He was telling the truth when he said that. I can't name him, of course. He's still on the job, and I need to protect those people that are still there. But that is a true statement. Many of us racialized and marginalized members of the department refer to Calgary fire stations as IDLH environments. And IDLH stands for immediate danger to life and health. That is a term firefighters use to identify dangerous emergency scenes that we go to where we need to be heads up on this. This is dangerous, this is life-threatening. Spidey senses should be tingling.
Right.
And we have that feeling when we walk into fire stations every single day.
Your letter. Oh, go ahead.
Just one more thing on that note. Another one of my colleagues told me, and again, I concur 100%, that we get a lot of training on fire ground survival, how to survive in dangerous environments that we go to, like very serious life-threatening incidents. We need to have techniques and skills to survive those things. Well, as my colleague mentioned and said, we have those skills. We know how to do that. We know how to survive because, believe me, we need to be extra careful. We need to watch our own backs a lot of the times because we don't know for 100% certain that the guy beside me has got my back. So I need to make damn sure I can get out. The training that we need right now is not fire ground survival. We need fire hall survival. Wow. How to survive fire stations and come out alive and well. Many of us don't make it out alive. I'm referring specifically to my good friend, my brother, my colleague, one of the best men I've known in my life, Captain Barry Dawson, who took his life on Remembrance Day, November the 11th, 2017, which I believe was a statement to his colleagues that they needed to remember him.
Wow. Every
single year when they put on their number one dress.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Chris. I wanted to ask you about one of these calls to action in that letter, and that is a public inquiry into job-related suicide. Do you believe that this kind of racist abuse is one of the contributing factors to some of your colleagues' deaths?
As I mentioned to Megan Grant in her story, I don't believe that. I know it to be true. I know it as certainly as I know my own name, that many of the suicides, and certainly Captain Dawson's, and I want to mention one other person, firefighter Brad Pasichnik as well, a man who was bullied, literally tortured in the fire station, and which definitely contributed to his suicide. Yes, I know for a fact that bullying, harassment, racism, abuses of these kinds, and the very toxic environment that we face in the stations are a direct result. The suicides are directly related to those, as opposed to what our fire chief has said. He told me right to my face that that particular suicide had nothing whatsoever to do with bullying and harassment. However, he told the family of that young man the entirely opposite thing. He told them that he knows, he said to them, I know who the bullies are. I will get them if it means my job. Well, that's what he said to them, but not one single person, not one was ever disciplined or brought to account after that suicide.
Chris, we're almost out of time, but I do really quickly have to address that the chief of the Calgary Fire Department did respond with a statement saying any harassment or discrimination is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. He further goes on to say, we're committed to creating lasting change and making ongoing improvements in our culture. We're expanding our knowledge, acknowledging shortcomings, listening and learning. Do you believe that?
I do not. Chief Dongworth is an extremely gifted man. He has a way with words. He will make you believe that he is so sincere and cares so much. I believed him in the beginning. I was one of his bigger supporters when he became the chief, but it didn't take me long to see through it and to learn that this man is not genuine. He is not to be believed. He is not worthy to lead that department. He has completely lost any moral authority to run that department.
Chris Coy, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story. Chris Coy is a retired fire captain who became the first Black firefighter in Calgary back in 1995.